What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Review. I am your host, PLD. With me, as always, the one who's so happy to be here, so happy to watch the rest of the show with us, Lego. How are you doing?
Oh, great. Just great.
Keep telling her we have 6 episodes left after this to watch. Only 6. So 6 more episodes of 2009 V before we break into some other stuff like the Big Finish audio, like the comic books, like the novels. I don't think it's working now. I almost dread going into my DMs with her, make the schedule up. I kind of go in there and I'm like, she's not going to be happy. She's just not going to be happy.
Listen, it's not my fault. Okay, I have a sunny disposition. You can ask anyone. I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. Okay? This is dragging me down, man.
Which is so funny to me because I love your taste, or sometimes lack of. But
Yo. I mean, you're not wrong, but that's cutting.
a little bit cutting. I agree. A little unfair, a little of a side swipe, I guess. A little, blindsided, I guess. But your taste is legendary, and you have been forthcoming about your tastes and stuff. And
I love trash.
you do. But this is not trash, I guess. This is something else. And what is it you said to me that
This is commits the one cinematic crime that I cannot get behind, and that is it's boring.
okay.
It's just not entertaining. Something can be bad and still be entertaining.
Well, the funny thing is, to me, I would argue against that. I think before it's been bad, pretty bad. In fact, it's been some times where I had some rants that said just how bad it is.
Yeah, there have been times where it's been bad and because it was in its inability to be a good story, and I phrase it that way very intentionally, it was entertaining because it was so baffling. Like, the
Right.
choices were so baffling that I was engaged because I was trying to figure out what they were thinking.
What the intention was behind it.
Yes.
Could they
Here,
turn it?
though, at this point, it's just like slogging through an already lost battle.
Yeah, that's
Oh!
the problem I'd have. Go ahead.
It's like when a football team has no chance of winning this season, but they still gotta play the last couple games. Did I get that right? I think I did.
That's a pretty good sports ball reference from you. I'm impressed. I'm
Hey!
impressed. Not too bad. Yeah, there's no draft picks involved, so they can't even look forward to that. It's all about limping to the finish line at this point. That's always what the show is doing. I'll admit that. It's amusing you say that, and I can't argue with you on any of your points because I totally agree with them. I kind of went into this week. I'm going, you know what? My sunnier side of that disposition to me was kind of like, you know what? I watched this episode, and there was nothing glaringly bad that I was like, this is effing awful. And in a way, you're right. That makes it less entertaining because I can't get into it as much. But it's like I feel bad. Like I'm like, okay, so the show took steps maybe to write something that was at least coherent enough. I mean, obviously, it still has the sins of its forefathers. It's still trying to make sense of the story that's already been dealt so far. But they actually have a decent enough, straightforward point A to point B logic points making sense. And I almost want to praise false praise. I don't know, not false praise, slight praise, I guess. At least that's something that they haven't been able to do before. If that makes sense. But at the same time, I do understand and agree that it is a little.
Yeah, but their course correction was Anna wants to go after the human soul. Honestly, I think I want to go back to where we were on episode 1.
We didn't
This
know.
This is not. I don't know if this is better. Like, the choice they made to course correct made it dumber.
Dumber in a way, yeah. I can
And
say
then
that.
I won't get too into this. Don't worry. But I'll stand on my soapbox. In 2025, watching a show I mean, it's not the show's fault. This was made in 2009-10. But that goes so deep into a storyline that is essentially about women being mothers and getting pregnant and aliens intending to come to this planet to breed is not fun
Hmm.
in this era.
Yeah, and I know I don't disagree. I get that actually. And I guess that part of what it misses too is that at least if there was like there was some adventure aspect to it, at least if there was some more actiony aspects to it, you had a few you kind of like coast through some of that stuff in a way, kind of like okay, sure, the
Or
storylines are
even
not
some
great, but like
style. It's like a
right,
very bare bone, like early 2010s looking show that it just doesn't have anything. It's very flat looking show. It's not very dynamic. Um, I could maybe get behind a show that isn't good that has style, but this lacks that too.
yeah, this is very it looks very like every other show of that time. It was a time where, especially on TV, not as much in movies, but in TV especially, they really started like getting excited about the CGI stuff and what they could do with CGI and computer graphics and how that would affect their visuals and how they could do it on the cheap. And I think that's what studio, not necessarily how artistically they could do it. I think studios were like, oh my God, we can make these like sci-fi type shows look in the future and for a lot less money than we ever could before. And that's what it looks like. It's all very bland, lifeless, gray. It's not even what the colors are schemes are. It's gray. And
And
it's like,
on a
what?
low budget, I think there was a way to do that, but
100%.
you could do it like found footage style as a show, which at that point
Mhm.
hadn't really been done and was still popular in 2009 and 10,
Yeah.
and would it would make it more interesting, definitely, and you could do it cheaply.
Yeah. I mean, even like the costume designs, like I mentioned it before, like the visitors coming down and wearing like business suits. Just, like, totally, like, it blunts the fantastical side of things. Like, it tries to do some stuff that's fantastical, like the ships and, like, the weird blue energy thing they try to do. I actually appreciate that stuff more than the kinda, like, just coming down, looking like they're looking, hiding like, we don't get the whole visit I mean, this is a show about lizards or whatever underneath skins, and we don't even get that hardly at all. Back in, like, '85, even when it was an expensive show, you get at least a visitor's skin ripped off now and again to kinda remind you who they were. Now it's kinda like, this is like this is Succession or something. Like not even really not written that well. But as far as like it's almost like a human business takeover in a way, which I can understand. Maybe that's an interesting way to tackle an
Yeah,
alien
something like They
invasion. But
Live, that
like
totally works because it's about classism, but that's not what this is at all.
right, and so it doesn't it kind of just kind of comes off vague and poor, and there's a lot of, like, moments like we visit the Vatican. I'm looking at a shot now. I usually have the thing playing in the background when I'm during the podcast, and it's a shot that Chad's in front of the Vatican, and it's so, like, awfully, bafflingly badly just like a CGI or a green screen background or whatever, it just takes you right out. Like, I don't ever believe for a second that they're in on location, um and that's not a thing that's good in a show like this. Like a show that needs to be fantastic, needs to be out there. You got to believe it's lived in. Because if it's not lived in, it just feels like a video game. It feels false. And a
And
video game of that time, it just
it all
doesn't feel
looks
right.
too clean
Yes.
and neat, and that's, not good.
No,
I
that is
mean
the
that so much as an
thing.
insult.
It is. That's the one thing. Like going back to Star Wars and George Lucas. George Lucas did that right. In the original Star Wars, it was a sci-fi thing, but they came off like very dirty, lived in, grimy at time. Like
Sand. It
yeah,
gets everywhere.
absolutely, and that's what people actually mentioned that because like back before that, it had done sci-fi had always been that clean, sleek kind of thing. This kind of felt like a real show in a fantastical setting instead of being just a fantastical show. That's the difference.
Oh, man, has Star Trek ever done, like, a show about the cleanup crew on the Enterprise? Because that
I think
would
Lower
be
Decks might be something like that, right? And there's an animated show called Lower Decks that's kind
I
of like a
haven't watched
comedy
it, but I'd
show.
be interested
It's like
because
well, I haven't watched it either, but I heard good
I mean,
things.
that would be kinda funny. Or Star Wars, come on, Star Wars, give me a show about people who work maintenance on the ships. Someone
Yeah,
who works that
absolutely.
trash chute.
Absolutely, that's what we should do. I mean, when all these shows are getting something like that would be great. But yeah, I think actually Lower Decks might be right up your alley. I think because from what I gather, Star Trek Lower Decks is like an animated show about the everyday Star Trek people on the Enterprise that you don't hear or see about, like Lower Decks being like the maintenance guys and stuff like
The
that kind of
people
thing.
below the red shirts. Oh,
Correct.
that pecking
Correct.
order.
The red shirts. Oh man. Okay. This episode does introduce a couple of different concepts or things. It's a typical trope. Let's get it out of the way. Your favorite person in the show makes guest starring appearance there. Oded Fair makes a big time
The
guest
sexy
appearance.
guy from The Mummy.
The sexy guy from The Mummy, who's a lot different when he's like short haired and in a much classier outfit, much more business outfit, more
Still
whatever
good looking.
suit. Yeah, he is absolutely.
And
Hey,
I
I
will
think he is
refer
too.
to him only in that objectifiable way. Sexy guy from The Mummy.
Sexy guy from The Mummy. Okay, that's fair.
Did not catch his name.
Eli Cohn. What is his name?
Terrible name. Sexy guy from The Mummy.
Eli Cohn, who is
the scene. Well, I mean, okay, I guess I'll work back around. We should explain why he shows up first.
yes, he plays a ex Mossad, he's very much known in the Kyle Hobbs's world, but he has surfaced as a very radical form of resistance against the visitors. It's not like the fifth column or whatever, but it's they open up the show this way. They open the show basically in three visitor collaborator, visitor friends, whatever they are. They're the humans.
Or whatever Tyler is.
Tyler's group are brutally hanging with masks over the head. In fact, actually kind of a nice acting performance there from Elizabeth Evans. She goes to unmask them, scared that
liked
she's going to
that
find her
moment.
son. I liked her performance of it. I thought that was a good performance
Okay.
of it.
I thought it was very main character. Like, this must be relevant to me. I'm going to ignore all protocols in terms of law enforcement, and my boss isn't going to suspend me for doing this.
Fair enough. I guess I could, I could understand that. It does happen. It is a lead character disease, I guess, I know with writing as that goes. As far as procedure goes, sure. But the performance of, I believed her being a mother in that situation. And the show is about being about motherhood, and that actually sometimes does overtake procedure and stuff.
Deep, heavy, angry stuff.
I it would have made that better if we had Tyler's friend be one of the ones that was killed.
Brandon. Not Brandon. His name I remember.
You do remember. That's funny because I didn't remember, but you do remember it, and I love you for that.
I committed that one to memory. It was very important to me.
The one that was out after like 2 episodes, maybe 3.
Bring Brandon back. Bring Brandon back.
They should have brought him back for this episode and have him hanging.
Have him killed? No, kill Tyler, and Eric can adopt Brandon. I'm still confused by this boy's age. Is he in high school? Is he in college? What?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point because he doesn't really go to school. Doesn't appear like he goes to school anymore. I don't think.
Is it summer? What's happening?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't see any snow on the ground, but they're wearing jackets.
PLD, it could be the middle of winter, and they're not going to have a snow scene.
That's true.
What are we going to get? Hot Frosty? No, we're not going to get Hot Frosty here.
So, Eli is basically the one who's behind this, and it leads up to our typical, in these kind of shows, trope. It's we have our resistance and we have the radical resistance who go too far.
Isn't that who Hobbs is supposed to be?
Pretty much, exactly.
So we're introducing Hobbs 2.0.
Correct.
For a reason.
The team that Hobbs probably should have been with the whole time. I don't know why necessarily. The show does not give any good explanation why Hobbs would stay with our resistance group and not just join up with Eli, because it seems like he is doing. I mean, the whole episode is basically him complaining that Eli is basically doing the right thing. Like, we can't afford to alienate Eli Cohn because he can actually be a help to us. Of course, our heroes do not agree. And I don't understand a couple of them. Ryan, I don't get, because Ryan seems like he would be okay with this because he seems like he's back and forth in this. Jack, sure. Jack being the conscientious objector, he's been like that way the whole time. Erica, I guess you could say I believe
At
it
this point,
enough.
she'd be on board. Or no, I'm sorry, she would be against because she thought it was her kid originally.
Right, which is that's the good thing about the beginning scene is it makes her have even more motivation. So I feel like she would have been on the fence about it because like she's getting desperate, but the fact that she potentially could have lost her son that way makes it so okay. Well, she's against it now. It's not a bad trope to have. I mean,
So
it's
I think
repeated
I would have liked
because
it if Mummy Guy had been Hobbs's like previous partner, like they used to work together, and it would be like oh well, now his name I don't remember. So Ham Tyler, who was the bomb guy he worked with.
Chris Faber,
Yeah,
Mickey
Fobber.
Jones. Yeah,
If that was like his Fobber.
that could have been actually a great idea. I mean, I think the idea was that this guy is known
But also he
more,
basically
but
has the same backstory as the guy who got killed at the beginning. Whose name I don't remember.
oh,
Fifth column guy.
Georgie,
Yes, Georgie.
yes, yeah, true.
They're
And
basically just like we'll give Hobbs Georgie's backstory and make him,
just be more of a badass,
yeah.
not like more of a military guy instead of a Georgie, who was the guy, which is the more interesting version because Georgie being the interesting guy who was a normal guy. I'm saying a normal, non-violent guy until this, as far as we know, and then all of a sudden he snaps and tries to become this warrior of sorts. Instead, we have the other guy who somehow has a family and stuff, despite being, a most wanted man, and then is still fighting with that same reason that he was. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I agree. It just seems like it's a less exciting version of it. Making it Oded Fair is good because he is, what'd you call him, sexy guy from the Mummy?
Sexy mummy guy.
Sexy Mummy guy. Okay, he is a sexy Mummy guy. He's very fun. He's a very fun actor. He knows how to say a line. All of his line deliveries are solid line deliveries, and but at the end, it seems like I agree with you about Kyle, about Hobbs. It seems like it's a weird thing for them to do. They're just kind of spinning their wheels with this. Like Kyle could have been this guy. They could have had Kyle be this guy. It actually would have been even more. Although part of me said it would be more interesting if Kyle had decided to strike out from the resistance at some point.
You keep saying Kyle. Is that Hobbs' first name?
I think it's Kyle Hobbs. I believe it's Kyle Hobbs. Yes.
He went back and forth. It confuses me. I have a small brain, PLD.
I'll just say Hobbs.
I'm female. I do not know names. That is a Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story reference.
Oh, okay, I would not know. My wife would. My wife watches.
Got a feeling that would not be a reference many on this listening to this podcast would know, which is why I said it. Didn't want to take credit for a line that wasn't mine.
Fair enough, and we are better educated for it. But it would have been better. I think a better storyline would have been Hobbs breaking off from the resistance and forming his own splinter group, because then it's a built-in thing. Or we had a season with him a little bit. It's a built-in resistance kind of thing. I don't think it should have been done with him still being in the resistance, going off his own. Like actually, literally say like, I've had enough of you guys. You're not for me.
I do not agree with that. Because I hate in shows when people are like, we're gonna split off, but they're gonna come back together. So what's the point? Just keep them together.
Well, that would have been my point. Maybe they never do come back together. Like
this show can't handle 3 plot lines.
That's a good point.
Have you been watching?
I'm trying to think what could have been cool though about it if a show had been done properly, potentially. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. What else we got going on? We do have the new. We get him. They're trying to recruit. Eli tries to recruit Jack, and we have these 2 tough guys over with Jack. That's another thing that goes on. I know anything to talk about. I'm looking at my notes now. Erica has a new partner named Bulling. You don't like the new partner. Okay. All right. You don't like the performance, the actor, the storyline? What is it about you don't like?
100% of everything you just said.
Okay. All right.
It was, I didn't think I can't believe it took them this long to partner us together. After all that stuff we pulled at FBI school. It's like, just stop. Actually, this is This is
Garbage.
cringy and uncomfortable, and I hate it. And obviously, he's there to spy on her, and they're playing like villain music behind it, like, oh, he's a bad guy. I'm like, well, two of her partners have disappeared. She looks like she's a FBI agent, like who's pulling some crimes and doing some what's his name, Dexter shit.
Right.
He's not the bad guy. He's being an FBI agent. I mean, yes,
Right.
technically antagonist because, she's our protagonist, but he's the one doing the right thing. She's lying and killing her partners.
Right, as far as we know. It does at least, I will say this, we had an ending scene between him and their boss, Paul, and they basically
With the villain
admit,
music.
they admit that Paul basically tells him that. But it does actually at least let Paul be somewhat competent because, quite frankly, this stuff that I was going down around Erica before, and he so far has basically been like, I don't know, okay, and let her get away with everything, it seems like. At least they're saying, okay, he actually is noticing that something's going on, or he's going to do something about it. So that's a good part of your story, at least finally, instead of being completely incompetent like he had been previously. I don't know. Let's see what else we got here. There's the Ryan storyline continues with Anna, and Anna's not giving bliss to his baby.
I just simply don't care. Get it off the screen. Fast forward.
I don't disagree. I just because the main problem I have with it is that
It's the exact same every single episode with almost the exact same dialogue, copy and pasted.
Right. And what Ryan just gives up names like Eli Cohn and everything else, and doesn't like it doesn't seem like it's like he's just throwing off random names and stuff. It doesn't seem like what's Anna really getting out of him? Nothing so far, nothing at all. But it's still like he's still going back to the well, like it's working for her for some reason when it's obviously not. It feels like they're just spinning their wheels. It's a spinning their wheels storyline, absolutely.
All of their storylines are.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Create an issue, solve it. Next episode, create an issue, solve it.
All right. How about we do get the scene where Tyler becomes Mr. Red Flag himself. He flips out over the death of the friends of the visitors and wants to strike back. So he and his buddies decide to go vandalize the church.
This is the child of an FBI agent who filmed his crimes.
And then dropped his phone.
Can we kill Tyler?
I wish we could. I really wish we could. But not only that, the worst part about the whole thing to me is I could see a stupid kid getting
Well, at this
upset.
point, he might actually be a fully grown human being.
Yeah, we don't know that.
We
for sure.
don't know.
But Lisa's even trying to stop him. And like he supposedly has done everything he's been doing is basically been for Lisa up until now. And still he just completely ignores her and goes off and does.
That's another thing of watching this in 2025. Tyler is a real big red flag.
Yeah.
He's really coming off as like this is one of those, he would support a certain politician. I won't name names. You know who I'm saying. He seems like that's that kind of white boy he is.
He is very and the worst part about that is he is the one who spray paints V on the wall, which is like
at this point I don't even know, is V for pro visitor?
Nothing here.
I don't know what that symbol means here.
Like we haven't actually discussed that here in this series. Like they don't know necessarily what they're doing with it here. That's the problem.
I think that's because this show is pro fascism.
It does seem that way. It does seem that way a little bit. This point, well, not even a little bit.
I'm a little confused about how they stand on the Catholic Church, and I'm not bringing that up randomly this time.
No,
I'm not bringing it up randomly this time. This time it's actually in the show.
Yeah, and I know. As soon as I saw that was happening, I was like, "Oh, she's gonna love this bit." I actually love religious storylines. Like, I'm not a religious person, but for whatever reason, it fascinates me. They're like how religion works or doesn't work, or influences people or doesn't influence. Like that whole bit does fascinate me still. I love religious horror for the same reasons. I like exploring that kind of stuff. It's up my alley, not gonna lie. Here, I actually think that was the best part of the episode. That was the best storyline of the episode. Was that Anna goes to the Vatican to discuss. I mean, okay, so I will take that back and say that the inspiration behind Anna going to the Vatican is supposedly basically Jack, who is this like small church pulpit guy speaking out. If more they had shown that more priests were doing that around the country, it would have been better suited. Right now, it's kind of like you're basically.
That's why she's concerned about Jack at all.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I think Jack is supposed to be he is the.
They need to do in 2010. This was 2010 or 2011.
Yeah, right around 2009.
Okay, so this is. I mean, social media is far enough along that we have words like trending.
Right, yeah.
That exist. They needed to do a better job of showing why Anna would care about Father Jack.
Right. They should have had more, like I said, more priests doing that. If they had like kind of a network or something,
he had like a following of like a lot more people showing up at his church, people like taking video and sharing them on early internet days. You know, stuff like I don't know. I don't know if newspapers would pick it up, but if there was like a big website maybe back in the day in like 2009, 2010 that would do something like that. I don't quite remember what was big online back then.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure I remember either, to be honest.
There were blogs back then. I just don't know.
News groups were like groups and like message chat boards were big then that time too. That could have been part of it. They could have been blowing up the chat boards. I think they're trying to show you through Chad. Because Chad always kind of reports on it, but then Chad reports mostly on what Anna wants him to report on most of the time. So it's kind of this weird, like,
it just came back around to being like, well, he's the main character, so obviously she would notice him, but they didn't give you like an in-universe contextual reason.
Right. And that's what I was trying to say before. Like, you could have, if you showed other priests doing this or having the same kind of effect, you could use Jack as the focal point for said thing or for said like group or movement. But without that, it's just that, well, this little priest from one little small chapel is doing bad, so we're going to go to the Vatican and hit a fly with a hammer.
I mean, that makes sense to me because she is the leader of a group. And it's like, if you have a problem and you're powerful, wouldn't you just go right up above their head and solve that problem for yourself?
I would think they would just take out Jack. It'd be easier for her to take out one Jack easily, just like make him disappear, and there it is. That's the end of that story. If it's more,
I can't explain that, but I'm just saying it would make sense that if she's doing this without, well, because he's the main character, but in universe again, contextual reason, I don't know, but it would make sense being a powerful person that she would just go to another powerful person.
If there was a lot of them, if it's just the one person, I would think she'd be more direct about it. That's my argument against that. I like the idea of there being a lot of them, and then she goes to the Vatican to say, okay, we'll just let them take care of it.
But also PLD, they don't want a lot of characters.
Exactly. That's part of the problem as well.
You keep wanting to add characters and storylines, PLD. Stop it. You need to do the opposite. Condense.
We haven't had quite the thing we had in 85 where they act like 5 characters in 1 week, basically. When Ham left, Robin left, Chris left, Charles died, Elias died. It was like it was a slaughtering of V at that point. But okay. So beyond the motivation, the question motivation, I do like her again. Like I said, going from one power to another power, and kind of throwing her weight around. And I like that she does it. She tries to be very diplomatic at first, and as soon as they turn her down, she turns really quickly and makes it a threatening thing. And it's quickly how quick the tables turn, so to speak, for the priests there, or the Vatican people rather. Cardinal. I think it's a cardinal.
Yeah, I just don't know what to make of that, to be honest.
I enjoyed that aspect of it because it felt really genuinely something that would happen. It would probably happen a lot slower. And it probably wouldn't have, it's definitely a dramatization of what would happen. A very TV. We can't take our time to show how long this actually might have taken. It happens in 25 minutes or however long the show is, but it does. I think it's an interesting way to go through it.
Did you think the blue lightning was gonna do something to the statue of Jesus?
I did, or something. I mean, we said making like the thing bleed. I guess making the statue bleed was.
Oh, I missed it bleeding entirely.
Oh yeah, but it bled like, which is a good thing because it's the it's that stigmata thing that goes around. It's a kind of a religious horror thing. So having that, actually, that's actually kind of a good choice. I think that kind of having them do that kind of laid into the previous religious horrors and the miracles, as it were, like touching base on miracles, especially after the whole, you know, what you call miracles is what we call science kind of conversation that they had. Like ancient myth is now actually just science that you didn't understand. It fits that very well. Well, actually, that's one of the better things I've ever seen this show do. That's subtle, but it hammered home the point effectively, I thought. Does that fit what you wanted to have happen, even though you might have missed it? Or do you think something
No,
more?
it was just like I guess I just got so bored I phased out. But I don't know. I was also like thinking about like I really don't know if this was supposed to be pro or anti Catholic.
It
Because
felt
it seems kind of
anti.
both simultaneously.
It felt more anti because it felt more like um that A, they're not going to stand by their people. B, they're easily manipulated, and C, they're going to kowtow. That's what just felt like it did in those three full sleeves. What's the pro side that you're thinking in a way?
Oh, because they originally did not side with her.
Okay,
They were
okay.
like holding on to their principles.
Are they holding on to their principles or their power?
Yes.
Yeah.
PLD. Come on. What is their principle?
Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there.
You see the Vatican? That man's got power.
That man does have power. You're absolutely right there. We do have the sleeper agent, which is the other actor I brought up to you before we went on the air, played by Joseph Walker, who is in a bunch of things over the years. Never one big standout role, but he's in a bunch of genre shows, so he has made the rounds. I appreciate his performance very well, even though it is obviously in that dumb storyline of Souls. This actually was more subtly done, and I think if the Soul thing was more subtly
Subtle?
done, this was subtle compared to what they had been doing. Compared to like we're gonna have science, we're gonna have experimentation done to find the soul. This is more of a conversation of having a soul and what that meant. That actually could kind of get behind a philosophical discussion about things and something that they like Diana or Anna doesn't understand what this necessarily is. Like it's a if you keep it meta, if you keep it like philosophical and you keep it is that kind of thing instead of being a physical thing, it can be an interesting conversation and can be well done because Anna coming down and hearing people talk about a soul, she's like, well, I don't understand this kind of thing.
I'm still confused about the conflation of soul with emotion. I watched a
Right.
lot of years of Buffy, and I still maintain they need to apologize to Angel. He didn't have a soul. He had a lot of emotion. Spike, soulless. And what was he if not hyper emotional?
That is true from what I remember. It's been a long time since I've watched it. Are you excited about it coming back, by the way?
God, move on, PLD. Move on.
No, you're not excited about it coming back. Oh, okay. I was wondering about that. I remember hearing the thing and I actually meant to DM you about that. Like my favorite thing about my friendship with you that I love is I will go to you with something and I legitimately don't know how you're gonna react. Like, because part of me, like, I'll think I have you pegged on something. Like, oh, she's gonna love this, and you'll come back and be like, I fucking hated it. I hate it. It's trash, whatever. And I'll come the next thing I'll come about something exactly the opposite. It'll be like, she's gonna hate this, and she'll be like, this was awesome. And I'm like, I don't get you. I don't get you. And I love it. I
Oh, I
love that.
always make sense to myself.
It keeps me on my toes. So I can't quite get it. So I want to hear it. I want to hear just a brief sentence or two or three or four about your thoughts on the Buffy
Buffy was a
remake.
show that I didn't watch until I was in college.
Okay.
And my first viewing of it was spectacular, and I have watched it many times over on repeat since then. It was a show that I would just put on to have on while I was, like, studying for finals or whatever.
Comfort show.
And even now, I always go back to it. There's episodes I skip because I don't like. There's certain storylines I don't love, but overall, Buffy was not the best show ever, but it was a fun 90s show, and I definitely deeply love it. It's one of my favorite shows, but I'm not going to pretend like it's better than it is. And but it's also had a continuation in comic books and stuff like that. And I've seen too many things that I love come back, and I honestly can't think of one that I'm like, "Oh, I'm glad this was revived. This works." Because there's so many things that, I mean, I'm assuming you can't bring Xander back.
Mhm.
That would be, at this point, kinda, I don't know about that, question mark, iffy.
Yeah.
Obviously, Spike and Angel, well, they aren't real vampires, those actors did age, so what do you do there? Um, there's just so many things. It's like, I don't know how you plan on reviving this
Right.
franchise. It was predicated on being young. Like,
Right.
not to be an asshole, but it was predicated on being young and having to go through high school and college and deal with growing up and deal with having the weight of your world on this, person's shoulders. And I mean, I don't know. Listen, if Anthony Stewart Head comes back, Imma watch it, but really that's it. Oh my
Yes.
god, and you can't bring fuck. Oh my god, you can't bring Dawn back, 'cause, she just passed away.
Right. Michelle
Yeah,
Pfeiffer
I don't
movie.
I think I'm out.
You're all out. You're
I don't
on.
know.
Okay.
Allison Hannigan can't bring me back alone.
That's fair. I actually have not. I might surprise you. I never finished Buffy. I still have a couple seasons. I kind of watched for a while, a long time after it was. I never watched it when it was on. Sometime in like the early 2000s, I think I sat down and watched like a couple of seasons. Liked it a lot. Stopped for some unknown reason and never went back to finish it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to go back and actually finish it sometime. Um, we also obviously can't bring Joss Whedon back. So
Why, you don't really need him.
do you not? As a, I
No.
mean, as the
I mean, I'm
creator?
not okay, I'm gonna say, so I don't know if this is an uncommon opinion or but, like, he's not the only nerdy man who exists. You can pluck up almost any nerdy white boy, and they can do a Buffy.
Well, no, no,
And
like
maybe, I
true,
don't
but
know,
I
have a
mean,
chick write it this time? I'm like, "Trust
okay,
me, I know nerdy chicks can do what he did better."
okay, that's fair. I guess that's fair. I'm just saying you're trying to get the gang back together again if you want. I always thought like the more you'd want to get at least as many people that were involved in the original back to try to recapture the magic if you're going to be able
Trying to
to.
think of the actress who plays, oh, no, never mind. I was gonna say another actor, but they couldn't bring her back, but then I remembered they just decided to kill her off in the last episode
Oh,
unceremoniously in the last few seconds, so,
oh,
and, didn't even mention it. I almost forgot that she died.
that's pretty sad. Okay, it's fair. All right,
I
all
mean,
right.
honestly, the show would have been better without Joss Whedon.
Okay, fair. Okay, all right. It's kind of funny that people have like. I mean, I am not stumping for Joss Whedon. Don't. What he, everything that's come out, it came out. But it's amazing how people turned on him almost like even before that, they were starting to turn on him for things. But I still think like he did Firefly, he did Buffy, he did like those things were great, I think. And like, so he had his role in them because he's an asshole doesn't mean he wasn't that stuff wasn't good. You know what I'm trying to say? Because retroactively make his writing or whatever bad,
Um,
theoretically.
so, you ever watch a show with the stand-in character?
Like, okay. Oh yeah, yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes.
Xander
Yeah.
is his stand-in character. Like, Xander is
No,
clearly Joss
Joss.
Whedon.
Right.
So when that stuff came out about Joss Whedon, I'm like, honestly, you could tell me he's done so much worse and I would believe it.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah. Sure, that's true.
I've watched Xander, and Xander is a fucking problem. But I like, the way that can't remember his name, played him.
Right.
He's fun. I think the Zeppo, which is the Xander episode, is one of the best episodes in the series. But the show definitely got to a point where it's like, I don't understand how you like it's celebrated as like this really great feminist and female forward show. And Buffy is a great character, but like there's so much in it that's so inappropriate and so shitty. And some of the takes are so terrible, particularly in regards to Xander. And like, I don't know, like when someone tells you who they are, believe them.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
And
Do you have
I don't
any?
know. It's just there's plenty of nerdy guys out there. Like I don't think a singular human being is irreplaceable. Sorry.
Okay.
Like it's there just no one's irreplaceable.
I don't necessarily disagree. I just throwing it out there. Did you like Firefly either, though, or is that something you
Yeah, I
never?
like Firefly.
Okay, cool. All right. Back to this train wreck now. I got you out of that for a little bit. Got you to rant on something. So that's I did my job to get you to rant on something. I think. Nice work. So anyway, I did like that priest. I like that. So go back to the soul conversation again. I get it. I get the soul conversation, but like if we're in here, this is the better way to do it than the physical studying of the soul.
I don't get it. Explain it to me like I'm in kindergarten because I don't. Like, okay, so has she? I just don't understand because they keep going back. So, okay, in this show, the human soul is human emotion. They've
Right.
conflated those two things. They're trying to figure out what and where it is and how to not have it, even though they don't have it. Do they think it's a disease they're going to catch from humans
Kind of.
that
I
they
think.
need a
Anna thinks that
vaccine
potentially.
for?
Potentially, I think the idea is that they are emotionless. They are like instinctively. That's why they're cruel. They can be very cruel, and some of the sleeper, for example, lived among humans, found them to have moments of beauty if they didn't understand it at first, but they got to the point where they understood. He understands it more now than they do, and he thinks it's a good thing, and he thinks that emotion can be good. And so basically, love is good, even though you don't know about love.
Okay, PLD, I have a follow-up question. I'm trying to think how to
Sure,
phrase this. All right.
sure,
So we've seen clearly Anna is very fearful of the human soul, of human emotion.
correct.
Then why stay on Earth and breed with humans to have a new generation of visitors with souls?
Because Diana said it best. They can't get anywhere else at this point. It's this or nothing. Diana actually did say that at one point.
Okay, I guess I just didn't.
Not this episode, a couple
But,
episodes ago, I think.
but why? Like, I still don't know why.
That's a question. Thinking why is it
Like,
like
I
do they
need
only have
them
a
to be stealing
fuel?
resources or taking over or just eradicating humans. Do something.
Right, 100%. No, I 100% agree with that aspect. But I think so. At least, but I will say at least that we know for whatever reason, Diana said that this is it or not. It's Earth or nothing, or they're going to go extinct. So they have to breed with humans to keep going, I guess. But because that's the case, the human soul thing is kind of they're scared of the soul. They're scared of those kind of emotions. They're scared because they never had emotions before. So when Anna starts having emotions, she gets scared of them and she wants to eliminate them because when you don't understand something, you lash out and destroy it. That's what we've been taught for a long time, especially from certain aspects of the human race, or in this case, the non-human race. So.
Can I defend myself for 1 second? I feel like when we talk about this show, I sound really, really dumb. In my defense, I generally have a pretty good memory for things that I like.
No, I don't think he's undone. I understand it completely. I think the Diana line is something that I vaguely remember, but like it's not like something that was a big conversation piece. It was kind of just thrown in there.
You know what? Buffy. I can give you intimate details on Buffy.
I know you can. You're very good.
21 Jump Street. But this show, in one watch out the other.
You are very good. I no doubt you are. I would not have you on our show, on my channel, if I didn't trust your opinions and your memory and your critiques, criticisms, etc., etc., etc. You know what I'm trying to say. You actually have a better way of words and actually point things out that are better than you have a way of pointing things out better than I do. I think you're very humorous about it, though.
I try to be.
It works. It works for you.
Attempt.
Okay. Let me see. So the sleeper agent. We find he gets brought back on board and he gets to tell Chad. He has a conversation with Chad, which is nice. Basically telling Chad to fight the Empire, so to speak, to make sure that Chad's on the same side of things. I just watched Andor again, and there's a big fight the Empire moment in there tonight. Yeah,
Chad is so obvious. He is not good at espionage.
No, he
He is
sucks.
not a secret agent, man.
I don't know if it's Chad or if it's Scott Wolf. I don't know if it's like the actor or if it's the
No,
character.
it's Chad. Like doing
It's
all the
Chad
stuff out in the open. Like, come on, bruv.
right there.
Although I
Yeah,
don't think the lizards have like superpowered hearing, I guess. So, but
true.
like if
Yeah.
I was anyone, I'd be like, why is Chad talking to our sleeper agent?
What are they possibly going to say to each other?
Make a note of this.
And it's kind
Oh
of
man, I just had an
go ahead.
idea. The visitors would be really cool if they were like 1970s era KGB kind of stuff. And this was more of like a Invasion of the Body Snatchers story. Like honestly,
Lot of different
the
story,
original V could have been like that since they could look like specifically and like replace people and
right?
convert people. Had have been great. And you could do that, maybe you
Yeah,
couldn't do that in the 80s with the budget, but they could have done that now. Or well, not
yeah.
now, but like in that show.
Dead now, yeah. Dead now, yeah.
In the remake.
A
In
Pod
what we're
People show.
currently viewing.
Yeah,
I
Pod
just keep
People show.
thinking of funner ideas and I gotta stop doing that.
Yeah, no, I like your fun ideas. It's always interesting to see them out there. What they could have done better. I honestly don't have much more to say about the episode. That was pretty much it. I mean, okay, I'm looking at my notes here. Jack was
Can we talk about Erica and her new partner going to see Jack?
okay, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Let's talk about that.
I don't think there's a consistency in Jack's ability to be manipulative. Like sometimes he seems real cool. I'm like, that was smooth, Father Jack. And other times, Father Jack, you idiot. Why?
Yeah, it's because whatever the story needs him to be. Pretty much, you're right.
Truly,
You're absolutely right.
truly.
Uh,
But he
yeah.
finds the visitors. Was it a head
Mm.
in a box? Some body part.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I honestly forget.
I
Exactly
honestly
what
couldn't
it was.
tell what it was supposed to be. And I'm like, guys, it's 2009. You could do a little bit better of a job with effects. Come on.
Right. Absolutely. I do like that. It's actually Duncan. So I do like that. It was basically Erica's also pretty shitty at this point too. Like she's got to understand that you had contacts with him, even though your new partner wasn't there for it. Like he's gonna find out that you talked to him a few more.
Also,
Like it
this
just
is
feels
why
like it's
they
like this,
shouldn't keep meeting at the church.
right? Yeah. Yes. They need a new resistance base. That's for damn sure. I don't know where it would be.
Or meet up in or walk through the sewers like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
How do they meet at the church? Because like where's the old guy? Like what are they
He's
like?
being old. He
Are they
doesn't
meeting?
hear these things.
Are they maybe meeting somewhere else? Is there somewhere else that they aren't possibly meeting that we just don't like? I think we thought it was the church. I don't even
Where?
know. Like
And more
one of
important,
those
where was
Hobbs's
Science
place.
Man in this episode?
I did miss Science Man in this episode. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. You know who else is missing this episode? I think it's one of those things. I don't know if he ever appears again, and it feels like it's just like we're gonna get rid of him because we don't know what to do with him anymore. Joshua,
Who?
you didn't remember our former fifth columnist who was brought back to Alien Side, medical technician guy up on the mothership.
Oh, the gay doctor.
The gay doctor, because like wouldn't he have been there when they were interrogating Father Moreau? It feels like that's would have been his job at that point, and he wasn't there. So I don't know if they decided, well, we don't know what to do with him, so we're just gonna let him go.
Can we also talk about Diana eating biting the throat of the Catholic guy?
Moreau.
Now, didn't just the last episode or the episode before that, at this point, I don't know, didn't Ryan say that the only way you could hurt a visitor was to skin them? So,
Yeah,
am I maybe like looking too deeply into that?
probably looking, but you're not entirely wrong. I mean, I guess maybe a visitor can kill a visitor.
And
I
also,
mean,
like they brought Joshua back from being shot in the head, didn't they? Or no, they brought Alan Tudyk back from being shot in the head. And they brought Joshua back too. I just can't remember where he was shot.
He was shot in the chest, I think.
Chest. I'm like, I feel like, she essentially took a bite out of his throat. I feel like that's a much easier thing to heal than a bullet wound to the head.
True, unless she injected some kind of poison into him or something. I don't know. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's whatever they need.
Like we've already seen that they could heal. Which is so dumb.
It is very dumb. And that's the worst part too. Is that's what we get from Diana. Like
And the
what?
blood drips on her mouth were very strange. Like they kept dripping like excessively. I'm like, but she already bit him. It's
Yeah, it's
not
already
gonna
done.
keep gushing.
Right, it's done. At
She's
this
not
point.
bleeding.
Right,
What's
exactly.
happening?
And
Lack of detail.
yeah. That's pretty much the whole show. Lack of detail. But all right, this is gonna be a short episode this week, guys. Just because I don't really have much else to talk about, unless you do. I don't think you do.
I just don't. I
Yeah,
just don't. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I got nothing.
Well, I'm gonna ask you. I don't even know why you're watching this anymore, guys. We're not loving the show. I don't know, but we do feel. I do feel a need to complete it. If we're gonna do the entirety of the V franchise, I will do the entirety of the V franchise. We have 6 episodes left. See if it can turn itself around for the last 6 episodes. I somehow doubt it. I do know. Spoiler alert: that Mark Singer makes an appearance. So I'm looking forward to that. To see
Is
him
it the
on screen
last
again.
episode?
It is. It's the last episode. But we will get there slowly but surely.
Of course.
And I know it feels like we're taking a long time to go through this, and part of that is because of my schedule. And when we miss a recording session for whatever reason, like we did 2 weeks ago, I missed a recording session because I was on call and I got called into work and managed into work, so I couldn't do it. But my schedule is so packed with like my work and my other podcasts and other stuff that I couldn't really even think about another day to plug in with you to record it. I would have done it like last week or like, well, I'll find some time. I had to basically just skip it and then come back 2 weeks later for a normal slot. So this month we've gotten to like 1 episode. So it feels like it's even like taking longer even because of that as well. Like if we could just like almost like take 6 weeks in a row and just boom, get through, probably would be better. I just can't do it, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to grit and bear it, make it through, and then we can go to some other fun stuff. And I think that Big Finish is fun. I think the comics are fun. The books are at least engaging enough. Like they're silly, fun, cheesy 80s sci-fi, which I think we are all in on most of the time. But we can also do some other stuff at that point and discuss what we're going to do in the future, because I think there's definitely a future between us here. We have a relationship we're going to continue, whether it's in review or beyond review. But I guess we're going to find out.
I think we should leave it on a positive note. PLD. Have you recently watched a movie you want to recommend? Something more, I don't know, something better to leave our audiences with a recommendation.
I haven't watched too many new movies recently because a lot of it basically have been my podcast watching. So I've been watching the MCU and Superman for my show with PJ, the two middle-aged geeks on film, which I love, by the way. And I watched, we did do a Gene Hackman tribute coming up. It's actually, by the time you see this, it'll have already gone live. Class Action Live. We are doing Crimson Tide versus Enemy of the State. 2 Gene Hackmans versus Gene Hackman and Tony Scott versus Tony Scott. They were both fun. But if I'm going to be honest, what I would throw out there is I saw, what's this one I watched recently I really liked? And that was Strange Darling. I liked that a lot. That was something I watched very more recently. That was good. And The Monkey I saw recently. That was bizarro fun, right up my alley. As long as you like a little bit of comedy with your horror, then you'll be all in on that one for sure. How about
that's
you?
Oz Perkins, right?
Oz Perkins, yes, indeed. I like Oz. I kind of like what Oz does. He did Long Legs, obviously. He's doing this. He's got a couple of things he was talking about doing, which I'm interested in. You know what? I did watch. What else did I watch? Oh, I watched the final one that you hated. So it's actually not a positive. So I almost don't know I should talk about it. I did, I got a chance to actually sit down with my projects that I do. I've been watching things and going through In Search of Darkness. And I just watched the last Italian guy, the Giallo guy. What was the one?
Argento
Tenebrae. Tenebra. Yes, I watched that, and I saw your review, your review on Letterboxd, and I had to chuckle and go, "Yep, that one I did peg after I watched it."
I'm not big on the Italian guys.
Yeah,
not big
either. Me either. I know some people swear by them. I like how they shoot things.
Yeah.
I will give it that. But otherwise, I'm kind of like, it did have John Saxon in it, so that made me smile. I like John Saxon. But
I think Tenebra or Deep Red, I can't remember. But if you say John Saxon in it, then it's Tenebra. I believe that was the one where he's like, "Oh, you're gonna call me misogynist? Well, I'll show you."
yes, that is
Well,
the
that's a
one.
choice.
That is the one. That's the one they did. Yes, absolutely.
It's
How about you?
definitely a choice.
What have you seen recently that's been
So I've been going through a lot of movies
okay?
lately, okay, because I'm currently at 387 80s horror movies.
Nice.
Mhm. I recently watched one. I don't think it was a good movie,
Okay.
but it was effective as hell. I thought it
Okay.
was a horror movie. It's not. It's called Threads from 1984. And it's shot kind of like a documentary, and it's like, what if a nuclear bomb was dropped on England in the 80s?
Oh, okay. I remember
And
that actually. Okay.
it's definitely a one and done. Like, I'll never watch it again. Some of those images are seared in my mind. Like
Okay.
I said, not good, but effective. And I would say it's worth the watch. It was also on 101, what was it called? 101 Scariest Moments in Film, which you could probably find on, like, Shudder or something.
Right.
So, that was just one of the reasons I wanted to watch it. It was a very heavy movie.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And then I watched, a movie I thought was actually pretty good. Have you heard of Deadly Spawn from, 83?
I'm very bad with names of movies I've discovered over the years. So let me
It
take a
has,
look.
like, they look like little I wanna be careful with how what I call it. Like a little, tadpole with teeth, but they're big. A lot of teeth.
What were you going to
Um,
say?
Nothing? Well, it looks a little bit like Aylmer from Brain Damage, but flesh colored. So, but bigger. I'm digging a hole.
I'm loving watching you dig it. It's actually very fun and amusing to me. So keep digging, keep digging. But no,
Anyway, Deadly Spawn,
I
it was
do know this movie.
like, they
Yes,
definitely spend all their budget on the effects,
yes.
and it's
On the
they're
tadpoles.
pretty good.
Yeah. Yes, I do remember that actually. The tadpoles, as you call them, were very well done for that, especially of that time. What was the budget for that film? On a budget, by the way, according to Wikipedia, of $25,000
Oh,
was the
wow,
budget
that's
film.
not much, and it shows, it does show,
Right.
but, I mean, they did a great job on the effects. The
Yeah.
miniature at the end, mwah, chef's
Good stuff.
kiss.
You know what? That's a very good point and something we talked about V doing the same thing. Like you can make something entertaining and fun for less money and do it in a good way. If you have sometimes it's the what's that word? It's the necessity of invention makes you get excitingly like inventive. People talk about that all the time. Like I'm reading the book now. That's actually an interesting topic. Tommy Lee Wallace wrote a book about Halloween 3, and how it came to be and everything else he mentioned. He's talking about the
Ooh,
original Halloween. Oh, yeah, it's pretty cool so far. Pretty cool. Talking about everything, like how he was supposed to direct Halloween 2. He was initially going to direct Halloween 2, read the script and said, nah, bro, it's not for me. Um, and it was actually really cool about it. It's like, I was like, kind of like, I made a big decision not to do Halloween 2, and I was really scared because that you don't ever turn down something like that and then ever get invited back to the party. So I was very excited to get invited back for Halloween 3. But he talked about a lot with like Halloween and with like the early Carpenter films, like Assault on Precinct 13, The Fog, Halloween, how they did so much with Scotch tape and whatever. They didn't have a whole big budget, but they think about how those films have like resonated and lasted for the rest of the time because of they had to be inventive and make it work. And they did, they made it work. You get the money to throw at things and you can just do it cheap and it just doesn't work. It doesn't look good. It looks fake and doesn't look like anybody cared, which is
yeah,
bad because it's like I would say like sometimes like I don't want to decry any of the artists, the CGI artists who worked on V. I'm sure they wanted to do well and they wanted to do what they were supposed to do and they were, but it just comes across more soulless in a way.
yes, that's very true.
So
And Yeah, and I don't know. I think there's sometimes a lack of, I don't want to say lack of artistry because that sounds mean, because CGI, there's absolutely a place and a room for CGI. I would never say there isn't.
100%.
But I think there's there's just definitely a right and a wrong way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Mm-hmm.
the overuse of it to the point where everything looks sterile and too fake and
Yeah.
weightless. It is just too much. It's
Weightless.
too far.
Weightless is a good thing. CGI works best at when they enhance real shots. You do it something, you do it practical and you enhance it with a little CGI. That's always the best use of CGI that I've ever seen. Because it just makes, because having the practical effects feels grounded, it feels real, it feels not weightless, it feels like it's got some weight, it feels like people are really giving a shit about it. And then you just like add the frosting, as it were, to kind of complete the whole picture of what you're trying to sell. Unfortunately, a lot of times CGI artists just get too full of themselves and they get too addicted to it. Not addicted is not the right word, but I could do the whole thing this way and I could do it cheap and I don't have to worry about Joe Schmo doing this. I almost wonder if it's directors sometimes who go like, because when you hand off an effect to somebody, you're basically handing it off to them to do what you want them to do. With CGI, you almost have more control over it. Like you kind of go to a computer graphic and like be there and go, I want this to look this way, this to look this way, this kind of thing. And you can do that with a practical effect, but
I
once
mean,
practical effect
just
comes in,
kind
then
of
it's like
looking at
done.
like
You know what
just
I'm saying?
looking at like practical effects, it seems like a lot of times those guys tend to like take over the movie because
Mm,
they know the best way that their practical effect should be shot. They know the
right.
best way to make it and make it look and
Yeah.
how the lighting should be. So often, I think that's why on the occasions that they become directors, like if you look at Pumpkinhead, Stan Winston directed it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason that movie looks so damn good
Mm-hmm.
because practical effects guys are basically directors. They
Right. Exactly.
basically do the lighting. They know how to do all that stuff from top to bottom just as good, if not better than a director.
Right.
But when you're doing CGI, provided you're a director that knows how CGI works, looking at you, the guy who made Cats, then you have more control. And a lot of directors it seems, are probably people who like
Shouldn't
control.
have. Yeah, they like control, but maybe shouldn't have that kind of control over the entire thing. That's why it's always better to have a group working on something than not. You get the best creative minds working together, and hopefully nobody's a yes man. You kind of have those kind of arguments, those little butting of heads that make things better because you take the best of both worlds.
I
Um,
mean, I'm okay with like singular vision. Sometimes that proves really great. I just think that as long as you're not getting like a power trip, then it's fine.
of course, there are times when it works. Absolutely, there's times where it works. There are just more times I've seen singular vision go wrong than go right. Certain people can do it. Like I trust certain people, like quite much so because they've earned it usually. But generally speaking, I tend to prefer more of like collaborative experiences. I feel like, I mean, and, I should say, not to be hypocritical, there's a way that goes well wrong too, because sometimes it can get too collaborative, and also there's
Too
too
many
many
cooks in the
cooks in the
kitchen.
kitchen. Exactly, especially when the studio gets involved, and the studio starts thinking they know more than the artists know, and then that's when it becomes really shitty at that point.
Or
But
they hold a screening for a bunch of 12-year-olds and they don't like the ending of the movie.
mhm.
Darn you.
So just so you know, the name of that book is Halloween 3, Where the Hell is Michael Myers? The Definitive History of Horror's Most Misunderstood Film by Tommy Lee Wallace, featuring a foreword by Tom Atkins. So,
Ooh, Tom Atkins. Thrill
yes,
me.
it thrilled me. That's a movie we should watch together at some point. We should do that at some point. I don't know
Night
how
of
we
the
would do it, but
Creeps
I
is
love Night of
such
the
a
Creeps.
fantastic film. It fits in so perfectly with like The Blob and Killer Clowns from Outer Space, like those
Mhm.
1980s throwbacks to 50s movies, because those
That's what it
directors
is.
grew up on those movies.
Yep.
Oh man, I love that shit.
Yeah, me too. I'm not gonna lie, I love that shit too. That's some possible podcast in the future. We can get that to work. So we'll come back to that at a future date. But next time, we will be going back to V, Spy Legos. best efforts, and 2.05, season 2, episode 5, and we'll be back for that. We're hitting it running. We're gonna finish up strong and make it work. And we'll probably have those things to talk about as well, because we're gonna definitely go on some tangents, as it were. So, like, where can the folks find you before then?
I can be found on YouTube at Lego Rants, or I could be found on YouTube and Instagram and Spotify under The Unhinged Binge, because I'm unhinged, baby.
And you definitely binge for sure. You can find me at PLD on the old Blue Sky. That's where I like to hang out. You can find me all over this channel, obviously. It is the PLD Projects channel, and I am PLD, so I'm the titular guy here. I do have a show with formerly mediocre. Now we're just two middle-aged geeks on film with PJ Campbell. We are well into the Superman franchise, and if you join Patreon at patreon.com/PLD Projects, you can see our look back at the MCU. We are recording our episode on Iron Man 2 on Tuesday, and that should come out soon. If you want to wait to the main channel because you can't afford to help on Patreon, which I completely get, times are tough, you'll probably have to wait till like December, but it is what it is. Let's see, anything else? Crown Jewels, do my Queen podcast, I do my Star Wars podcast, Holy Snokes every week with Matty Gunner, finishing up our Andor rewatch before the second season of Andor. And I think that will do it for us. I think that's it. Man, 1,000 podcasts is what Matt usually says. So I try to live up to that name. I'm always trying to find more. We're always talking about something. But that is then. This is now. We're going to say goodbye. We will see you soon. Something like that. Thrill me. Yeah, bye.